Joseph Lindsley is on a train right now, and the internet is very spotty in his traveling today. So he recorded something for us. He sent it to us earlier. Joseph is bringing a special present from Chicago to a special place in Ukraine.
Welcome to Ukraine Bank.
Hello, Dobry Din. This is Joe Lindsley talking to you from a train between Kyiv and Kharkiv. I'm returning once again to the east of Ukraine, where, as a foreign friend recently described it, you are unplugged from the matrix. What does that mean, unplugged from the matrix? Well, in Kharkiv, for example, that city 30 miles from Mordor, 30 miles from Russia, I feel people are more honest and real. You feel that you're outside of normal time and space, surrounded by heroes, and never knowing when missiles might fly overhead. And this gives you a wild sense of freedom. And as I sit here on the train, the sort of refuge of the train with bad signal, which is why I'm making this recording ahead of time, I don't know what's happening. There could be some, major attacks, major counterattacks. This is a time of refuge from the hourly news of the war. And so I have time to reflect and think. And often as I'm traveling in Ukraine, I always am asking Ukrainians and foreigners here, why are we here? What is this idea of freedom that we're fighting for? I think the best people who can define it are those who are willing to risk their lives for it. I was speaking recently with my friend Yuri in Lviv, and he's a great critic of many aspects of Ukrainian society. I think after a year and a half of war, of course you see tensions, not only among Ukrainians but among foreigners here. And it's normal, but there is something that unifies everyone, and it's this devotion to freedom. But my friend Yuri said, when so many Ukrainians go to Europe, they feel uncomfortable. In Europe and the rest of the world is sort of rife with regulations and rules, and Ukrainians really are, in a sense, uncontrollable, he said. They just want to be free. He said, this quote, "We are free persons. We have huge problems, but we are free." And then he added, I think the very revealing sentence, "We are wild." And indeed, the fields that I'm traveling through now, for centuries, these were called the Decapoli, the wild fields, the land of the Cossacks. They did not want to be controlled by empires from the east or from the west, and they fought them off. But it took until 2014, with the Revolution of Dignity, when Ukrainians really figured out how to cooperate with each other. To keep this wild spirit while working together to make Ukraine strong. And that's the very reason why Russia is attacking Ukraine so vehemently every day. Because the wild people, the free-spirited people, once they've figured out a way to work together, cannot be stopped. Not by corporations, not by governments, not by any tyrant. And we see Russia has resorted to sending millions of dollars worth of missiles upon this country every single day, and still, from the soldier in the trenches to the little girl missing a leg, running a half marathon, the wild people of Ukraine, now that they've figured out how to work together, cannot be stopped. I see this sort of wild, stubborn spirit even as I walk and run down the streets of Lviv. I'm an American, I lived in New York, I move fast, and most people here walk at whatever pace they want with no awareness of what's around them. They're in their own world, and at first that really frustrated me. But as I've begun to look at it, that's on a micro level, that's what Ukrainians are doing writ large in this stand against Russia. And, it is indeed this wild spirit that has helped Ukrainians hold on against such a malicious enemy. Russia is the opposite of a free society. For centuries, going back to the days of the Tsars and the Soviets and now Putin, Russians are accustomed to doing what the government tells them to do, to believing what they are told. Ukraine is the total opposite. And that's why we see such a clash. Ukrainians do not listen to what others tell them. They talk with each other and they make their own decisions and opinions. And I think only people so totally wild could stand up to such a powerful evil, attack after attack after attack. And I was recalling our conversation a few days ago about Winston Churchill. He was wild too, uncontrollable. When he went to the White House during World War II to convince America to help the cause in Europe, he was found sleeping naked on the steps of the White House, inside. He sipped whiskey and brandy all day, in varying proportions. He was a fierce, choleric spirit, not able to be controlled. He didn't fit into society and into government in many ways. But for the most dramatic moment, when life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness were on the line, he was the wild soul, the only soul wild enough to stand up to the monster in Berlin and to face down the tyrant. Ukraine is millions of Winston Churchills standing at the gates of Europe against the invading Russian tyranny. They are wild, passionate, fierce spirits and souls and humans. And this is why they've been able to make this stand. Were it not for this wild characteristic of the Ukrainians, this war would be over because Russia would have dominated. And this is the gumption that it takes to hold on. As my friend Yuri said, I'll quote him again, we are free persons, we have huge problems, but we are free. And perhaps we are free because we are wild. This wild spirit, it works because Ukrainians are also connected with each other. They're not anarchist. And they're connected to ritual and tradition. And an example of that, yesterday there were two holidays. And an example of that, yesterday there were two holidays. One was a day to honor those who are driving and working in tanks in the current war. And the other holiday was the Feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross. And in Lviv especially, the churches were crowded, chant wafted through the squares, people were wearing the traditional veshivanka. But it was notable, especially because this is the first time since 1596 that when the Greek Catholic Church in Ukraine united with the Roman Catholic Church, it was the first time that Ukrainians, both Orthodox and Greek Catholic, were celebrating in accord with the West, according to the Gregorian calendar, the calendar of Pope Gregory. The world of Orthodoxy celebrates according to the calendar of Julius Caesar. And this is just showing what Russia's war, it has pushed Ukrainians to get rid of everything tainted by Moscow. And so this calendar change is quite dramatic. All holidays except Easter will be celebrated according to the calendar of the West. There's another holiday which begins tonight, celebrated by many Ukrainians, Rosh Hashanah. This is the Jewish New Year, time to take accounting of the past year, of people you've wronged, to celebrate the good things in life. And every year, going back to the early 1800s, tens of thousands of Jews from all over the world come to the Ukrainian city of Uman, a city that the Russians have attacked many times. They come to the city of Uman on a pilgrimage. And even now in the wartime, many Jewish people from around the world are gathering in Uman. And so I will leave you as I keep traveling, many more hours to go on this train. I will say Shana Tova, Happy New Year. And on Monday, I will explain to you why I'm on this mission to Kharkiv. Among the reasons, we are carrying a present from Chicago, which will be used to good effect. And so until then, this is Joe Lindsley talking to you from a train somewhere in Ukraine. And as always, we welcome your support at UkrainianFreedomNews.com.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Що він сказав?
Well, which side are you on?
На чій ти стороні,
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
на чій ти стороні.
Can't wait to talk to Joseph at this time on Monday morning.